In a tournament with Vitality and Spirit, G2 eliminated both of them to win the whole thing. That makes them the first team to beat Vitality in a best of 5, making it only more impressive by the fact that they're such a new team. And did you know, G2 also had the highest T round win percentage in the entire tournament. Also more impressive because of the CT-sided meta that's come into play with the economy changes recently. It's incredible. Welcome back, you sexy bastard. I'm your host, XC, and today I'll be bringing you another tier list, because everybody loves a tier list. I'm talking GOAT tier, I'm talking A tier, I'm talking C tier, and I'm also talking disband tier. But for the criteria as a whole, I kind of want to go for a expectation versus reality on a tournament basis. This isn't a statement on how the team are as a whole, obviously. I also want to involve, their implications on the VRS ranking as a factor. Whether or not this helps a team get to the major or puts them out of contention is a huge fucking deal. Then obviously wins, losses versus teams they should be losing against or teams they should be winning against. You kind of get the gist. It's not that complicated. Now, to speak for myself, I really enjoyed this tournament. If it weren't for the online group stages, I think it would be even better. But I understand why they're doing it for logistical reasons, trying to save money and all that, but I feel like it would have a little bit more prestige. I feel like one of the biggest things about how this tournament played out is how stupid it is that we don't have best of 5 finals at majors. If you look at the final of this tournament, it would have been over in 3 maps and Vitality would have taken the trophy, and we would have been deprived of what it ended up being one of the best grand finals of the year, in my humble opinion. But yeah, awesome event. I loved the booing when teams were saving.
It's early damage on Mezzi as well. That's going to take the wind out of the retake sails.
First team I want to talk about is Furia, one of the teams I'm so excited for this year. They are so fucking good. Who would have thought that Furia going international would have saved them? I mean, what more can you say? Yakindar's back. Molodoy looks like simpler Monacy with some of these clutches he's pulling off. Look at this 1v3.
Off a 3v5. Whoa. A 1v3 4K with 2 no-scopes, 1 second, and a 3v5 on the round.
But it's so much fun to watch this team. They play some chaotic CS, and Fallen is calling incredibly. He's been hypnotized into thinking it's 2017 again with some of these crazy op shots he's hitting. They fucking 2-0'd Spirit and Mouz to make it to the semi-finals, and along the way they only lost a map to Legacy. What happened here? And look, I know what you're saying, they did get slapped up in the semi-finals, but if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. If you could please let me know in the comments what other phrases I could use incorrectly. And I'm going to be quite liberal with these rankings. I'm going to put them straight up in S tier. I mean, they beat Spirit, they beat Mouz without breaking a sweat, even though they did lose to G2. But at this point, facing a heavy god in a playoff game is a traumatic experience. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt. That's an S tier performance from me. Now straight on to Spirit. Spirit had their bi-weekly slapping of Flyquest, which just pained me. Because why does Flyquest keep getting matched up against these fucking teams? I just want to see them succeed. But yeah, Spirit lost to Furia, as I mentioned earlier. Donk's 1.74 rating wasn't good enough to bring them the win. Holy fucking shit, dog. Donk's desk slam because of Fallen just proves that time is a flat circle. They then trashed Liquid, and I don't want to talk about Liquid. Then they got trashed in the 3rd map by G2, like really fucked up. And I mean, I don't want to give them excuses, but if they knew that it was Zontix's last tournament, I mean, just from a human perspective, it does make sense why they wouldn't be playing their best CS. It is also quite interesting, if you haven't seen, that the announcement for Zontix getting benched from Spirit finally came out, and it turns out it's more for personal reasons than professional reasons. I actually reached out to Zontix for a comment, and he told me that you should like, subscribe, and hit that bell. But yeah, I'm gonna have to give Spirit an A tier performance. I know below Furia, you wouldn't see that in many other tournaments. And next I want to talk about M80. Can I get a hell yeah? Fuck yeah, man. NACS is so back. It actually makes me kind of happy to see them taking the reins over a team like Liquid, because I love that. I love Hexed. They stomped their Blast Rising qualifier, making it the 3rd qualifier in a row that they went through without dropping a single map. Although I did get wind that they actually just lost to OG 2-0 in a qualifier, which is a little bit cringe. But M80 first lost against Vitality despite picking up a map, which is great in itself. They swept up VP, NaVi, and Fnatic to make it to the playoffs. Can I get another hell yeah? Boy, was it a joy to watch. They faced up against Mouz in the quarterfinals. And I think that game really could have gone either way, especially in the first map. It was so close that simply an economy break could have actually given M80 that game, maybe even the 2-0. So great signs from this team, and I really hope it's not just a flash in the pan and they can continue to upset these big teams like that and become a big team themselves. They've also hugely boosted themselves in the VRS, and they're looking now at a Stage 2 invite to the Budapest Major. Yeah, but for M80, that's an A-tier performance. You know what I was saying, expectations, reality. They blew it out of the water. I'm super happy for the boys. Now I'm going to bring the mood down a little bit. I'm sorry to hit you with this, but we're going to talk about NaVi. So NaVi look really, really depressed. I assume they have a sports psychologist, but they might need a second one. Although we've been seeing signs about them not maybe getting on as well together. I don't want to pretend like I know what's going on inside a team Reddit armchairing this motherfucker, but it kind of sucks to see, especially since last year they had that like power of friendship magic that they were using to win tournaments with, despite their individuals not being typically known as world class. But yeah, it sucks to see, and they only actually beat Fnatic before getting 2-0'd by a brokey masterclass, believe it or not, in 2025. Hell yeah. And they got eliminated by M80, which is huge for M80, but really delivering below expectations for NaVi. And I don't know who to blame at this point. Everyone's pointing fingers at different people. Makaze really underperformed in their elimination game. Everyone's saying wonderful, obviously, all the time, but I mean, nobody's really performing at the moment in such a struggling team. I feel like nobody can thrive in such a situation. And I hate to say it, but I might actually have to put them in S tier for this tournament. Please don't kill me, I'm sorry. Now I want to take a little bit of a look at Xtatic, and I love this team because I love NutNut. We all love NutNut. NutNut is brought back my passion for the game in many ways. I didn't even know you could have a space in your name. It's awesome. Guy can not once but twice. So they took a map off Faze, but then got 13-0'd like immediately afterwards. And they lost to Paris Major Form Cypher. And that did leave NutNut under a 1.0 rating for the tournament, which leaves my NutNut GOAT top 1 prediction in a pretty ass spot. I'm going to put them in C tier. I'm not going to put them down at the bottom because I feel bad for them since they're not looking to qualify for the major at the moment. Let's fuck with some GamerLegion. They absolutely shot on VP. You love to see it. Get them out of here. They unfortunately had to face Vitality in the upper bracket semi-final. They did take a map off them, although Vitality looked like they didn't entirely activate until playoffs, but still, you gotta give GamerLegion the props. I mean, Rez and PR look like such a fantastic duo of riflers, and everybody's pointing their fingers at Kersey recently. He's the new opera for the team, and usually I'd like to defend players who are newer to tier 1, but Kersey really doesn't look like he's pulling his weight. And I hate to say it, but Kersey did actually go negative every single match, and I feel like Rez and PR need better players around them because I think they can be a consistent playoff team with the power of friendship. Then they lost to Fnatic in a close affair game, which kind of sucks for them, but I'm going to give them a low B, high C. We'll see how it plays out. Now to touch on Mouz. I'm a little bit worried about Mouz. Mouz fans, what do you think? How are they doing? You there? Hello? No, I'm a Mouz fan. I don't think they're as auralist as people say they are. In fact, I think if they played into the auralistness thing a bit more, it could actually benefit them. But in their opening game, they dropped a map to Imperial, which kind of isn't great. Then they beat G2 in a semi-close affair, which are the tournament champs, to be fair. And then they lost to Furia in the seeding match. And they really got close to losing to M80, I'm telling you. And then they didn't put up a fight at all, really, against Vitality in the semis. See, I kind of think we're starting to see maybe a bit of a decline in Mouz. I think they've always been known for how good their chemistry are, but I'm worried they're losing it a bit. Maybe it's due to a lack of success, despite being such a great team, but never being able to get it over the line in the tournaments that matter. So it's a little bit worrying. I mean, they did pick up clues earlier in the year, but Vitality and Spirit weren't there, so it's not exactly on the same level as a tournament like this, with G2 winning it. So yeah, it's going to be an A tier for Mouz, which feels weird to give. Now all rise, or rather sit down, for the Overlord's Vitality are kinda back. ZywOo has had somewhat of a return to form. Well, a return to form, he'd never stop being elite, but less elite for his standards, if you catch my drift. But Vitality beat M80, GamerLegion, then FaZe Clan to qualify to the arena. They dropped the map against all of these teams, and honestly, they were really close to losing to FaZe. I mean, Brokey was pulling his bullshit, and I honestly think that frozen suicide in that one round in Nuke maybe lost FaZe the game. I mean, I obviously can't speak for what would have happened, but they didn't look all that great against FaZe, except for the third map, but FaZe's Inferno is terrible. As far as I remember, they had about a 60% 5v4 win rate on Inferno, which is just fucking unbelievable. But yeah, I think when we got to playoffs, Vitality looked kind of better than they've looked all season. Pretty much the best Vitality we've seen since the major in my book. Notably, there were some slow starts from Rops and even ZywOo, despite his good final rating in the grand final, which could have had a little bit of an impact on the games. But I think Vitality will hopefully be on the upswing, or maybe not hopefully, depending on whether you hate them or not. I mean, I've always been a fan of Apex and the players around him, and Rops. Oh, I fucking love Rops. But yeah, they're still going up in S tier. Made the grand finals. I'm gonna kind of lump Imperial and Legacy, the two Brazilian teams, in here because they both went out sadly winless. Not a single win. Although I do think Imperial got a bit of a shitty draw, drawing Mouz in the opening game. They did pick up a map off them, to be fair, but then they only picked up one map against Liquid, and you should be doing better than that if you're in the top 50. I mean, they added Skulls, and I think Skulls looked really good in the Mouz game, and Try has been looking great as well recently, but not so much in this tournament, which sucks. Big C tier for the Imperial. And Legacy, as I mentioned, were also sadly winless, except they did take maps from both Furia and Flyquest on their way out, which is something. Although they have been doing pretty damn good in the close qualifiers leading up to this, as they've been stomping their way through it. And in the qualifier, they did beat Imperial, which does assert some dominance on their fellow Brazilian team in the tournament. Although then in the qualifier before, they lost to Imperial. It's another C tier, what can I say? Now I want to talk about Flyquest a little bit, but it's like super hard to talk about them because since they added JKS, they've only been playing tier 1 lands, really. Well, first of all, we haven't really gotten to see enough of this new Flyquest to really make judgments, and also I feel like they haven't got enough reps in to really show us what they've got. And I still miss Alistair's beautiful mustache, but I mean, Regali has been pretty fucking good for them. I think JKS has looked great as well, and I think because of JKS's experience, that they will hopefully start to do better things in the future. I would love nothing more than to see a Flyquest playoff run. So as much as it pains me, the only team they did beat here was Legacy. And they were unlucky enough to match up against Spirit and G2 in their opening and elimination games, so I'm going to have to give them a high C. Now I want to talk about Fnatic. I think Fnatic really surprised me this tournament. They played a lot better than I thought they would. Seems the Cypher edition is doing great. Cypher brought some fucking Paris Major form this event. And despite Blame F mega poo-poo stinker against NaVi, I think he still does look like an elite rifler. Speech today is fucking... I think Cypher and Blame F could even be a rifle duo for teams like maybe NaVi to pick up or some other teams like that. Well, I didn't exactly think about who they would replace, but I think they're of a pretty good caliber. I mean, although we haven't really seen enough of what Cypher is able to do, he's still been up and down since the major. But I think Blame F honestly still has it in him. I think he's a really good player. I know he baits and it seems pretty bad sometimes, but I'd like Blame F. If only we got the Blame F config duo on Astralis for longer after Device was added. I swear to God, I think that team would have done damage. Just unfortunate that config went to conflict. He was a convict. If you guys can help me out in the comments, I need some funny jokes. But yeah, Fnatic humbled the GOAT Nut. And they also beat GamerLegion 2-0, which I think is no small feat. That's pretty damn impressive. Then they did go out to M80 in a pretty close decider match, but I would also crumble with terror if I was faced with the GOAT Lake. And then Liquid... I don't even want to fucking talk about Liquid, bro. I just made a whole video on Liquid. Go check it out if you haven't. I think I made the good video. Liquid played like piss and shit against G2. And then they fooled everyone by looking really good in the first half of their first map versus Spirit. And then that, of course, all fell apart, and they brought it to overtime, and then... Liquid look at the moment like super out of the major, but their upcoming match against Furia could actually change everything, apparently. They're gaining over 100 VRS points if they beat them, which would technically bring them back into major contention, and as much as the roster for Liquid is sucking at this point, I don't really want to see them miss the major. But that's enough about fucking Liquid. You know where they're going. Now for Virtus Pro. If you have a drink, I want to cheers it now. But everybody rise in celebration of Virtus Pro finally benching Electronic. Get him the fuck out of here. But yeah, despite getting his buddy in Perfecto back into the team, Electronic still couldn't make it work. So Electronic kind of got electronicked because Perfecto came to the team, then kicked Electronic, and now Perfecto's becoming the IGL, and it's messy. It's not gonna work, I don't think. But yeah, Virtus Pro's exit was pretty pathetic, all things considered. They got 2-0'd by GamerLegion with a Towson masterclass. Believe it or not, I forgot to mention it in the GamerLegion segment, but I think Towson has looked really good this tournament, and if he was performing up to the level of PR and Res, that team go crazy. But yeah, then VP went up against M80 and farmed on their obvious map, Overpass. James still lives within us. I got slapped up on Dust 2 and Mirage. It was time. Look, this VP had been finished. They were never gonna fucking win anything. They're going in the disband tier because they disbanded. No one can argue this. Now we must speak on FaZe Clan. Well, goddamn, FaZe Clan in the opening game with the rookie, you might have lost a map to Nut, but who wouldn't? Then they 13-0'd Ecstatic, and then they went on to 2-0 NaVi with Brokey. Holy shit. Brokey looked so good. I know Brokey didn't look great in his playoff match, but he looked so good. Maybe he's an onliner. Maybe we can move all tournaments to online just so Brokey can be back. And they really pushed Vitality. I think I mentioned earlier the round where Frozen killed himself. Speaking of nerves, I think Jacob actually performed pretty alright considering he mentioned how nervous he was. And I mean, it's kind of too early to really make a statement on how he is as a player, but I think he played alright from what we saw. I mean, there was no like big standout moments or anything, but what can you really expect from a guy's first tournament in tier 1? And then the FaZe versus G2 game was really fucking hard to watch because I was rooting for FaZe Clan. Wasn't close at all at Inferno, but FaZe Clan on Inferno, I aren't think this. I'm sorry. Getting so excited talking about FaZe Clan. But I think the biggest pain for the FaZe Clan match was Karrigan winning that 1v2 and them not being able to close it out in the match points. Oh my god. It was such a sick clutch for such an elderly man, and then for them to fuck it all up. I mean, I know it only would have brought them to the third map, but I really wanted a third map. It was getting such a sick game. And like Karrigan's second highest rated player in the playoff game, I mean, come on. But then again, FaZe also had to play against Heavy God in a playoff game, and honestly, when I saw that one clutch that Heavy God had against Rain, I knew that Heavy God had that dog in him. But yeah, FaZe reached the playoffs, and they did it in their first event with Jacob. That's an A-tier performance to me, as well as Brokey looking back. Disagree with me if you want, but I think it was very impressive for their first outing. Could be honeymoon, we'll have to see where it goes. Now for the final team, obviously G2, man. G2 won an event. Now Hunter is like one of my favorite players in all of tier 1, and it feels so good for him to step out of Nico's shadow, especially in a new role as IGL, with a bunch of players that typically would not be the first superstar choices of a lot of tier 1 teams. Maybe those teams are wrong, because Matisse played fucking lights out in this final. Some of his aim highlights here genuinely looked like some prime Nico shit. And need I even talk about Heavy God, man? Oh my god, he was incredible the whole event, especially to talk about the spots he plays. I mean, he plays the anchor roles, and if you compare the benchmark stats of the players who play his positions to the output that he's putting up. But yeah, man, I think everybody on this team just looks like fucking peak, with the exception of Sampayas, although Sampayas looked good in the games against G2 and Furia, maybe a couple of group stage games. I'm still not entirely convinced with him, but if he's contributing to the team in other ways, then that's fantastic. But I feel like G2 hopefully could be this year's like magical wonder team that rises from the ashes. Think teams like 2023 ENCE with their crazy runs, or 2024 NaVi. Those teams that work with magic rather than money. Such a great fairy tale story for them, and there's a big community sentiment as well that Falcons can't buy this. When G2 went on to win a tournament, it's kind of karma. And then that Monacy tweet response as well, I was pretty sad. But G2, what can I say? They're getting the S tier of the tournament. They were not only the best team of the tournament, but also one of the most fun teams to watch in a while. But all in all, I got a super big kick out of this event, and I hope you did too. And it was fun to talk about some of these teams and rank some of them. If you disagree with me, say something really mean in the comments. But yeah, I'm working on something a little bit special about the state of the NA scene now with the whole wildcard debacle. Oh, hell no. So yeah, please leave a cheeky like and a cheeky subscribe. I really appreciate it. I think that's all I've got in store for you today. See you next time for some more fun, sick commentary, some news, some fucking Counter-Strike. That's what this is all about, man. All right, peace out. Have a good